Testing. I realised I'd started without testing everything again. Right, am I too bright? Is it weird? But anyway, Happy New Year for everyone. It's a bit frantic here because I've got a lot to get through. And I realised before doing it that I put no links to all the things I'm going to talk about. So I was frantically putting, I was like, so many things. Way more than I thought. So we might have to do this in 2 parts. But basically, first of all, welcome to Real Magic Review. Happy New Year, everybody. Do, after this, go and check out onlinemagic.co. Is this going to work? Onlinemagic.co, that's my online magic course program community. 2 communities on there. I launched a new one on there today. Live sessions every week. Guest lecturers and all manner of things. Same live sessions every week. I haven't had one for about ages because I've been really ill, and then I was away. Well, really ill. I had terrible flu, but I was on at death's door or anything. But then I went away working, and I thought I was going to be able to run live sessions from there, but I couldn't. But nearly every Thursday, and if I get a gig, I usually change the day. Sorry, I've got a mouthful, so I'm going to drink me a cup of tea. I heard the thing that a cup of teas are good for mouthfuls, so I've had about 12 today. But anyway, yeah, it's nice to be back here, isn't it, Gary? It feels like about 7 years. I had to set everything up again because I took the mics away with me, never used them. So I just really kind of remember how everything works. So I hope it's all right and it's looking all right. Tell me if it's looking all too saturated or anything. Well, yeah, it's a bit geeky, isn't it? I'm sure we'll get away with it. So this is the thing. I went away. I'm going to mention this once because, when people come back and they go, oh, I'm terribly jet lagged, and it's like, oh, I've been working abroad, and it's going, yeah, whatever. But I was excited about it because for 10 years I haven't been able to take a gig for more than like 4 days because I've got the kids half the time. That's a choice. That's not, oh, poor me, I love it. But this is the first year, the kids are getting a bit older, I've been able to go away for like 10 days to a gig. Am I pink? Okay, let me now I'm going to turn the saturation down. Or is that just yours? It might be yours. I'm going to start messing around with it. And it might be your ill thing. Let's have a look. I can't find what I'm doing now. Oh, where's it all gone? See? I've got to remember where I was. Do you work in a tan or is that makeup? No, it's a is that what it is? Oh, is that the tan? Oh, where's the... See, I've forgotten how to do it all. Where's the thing where I changed the... Oh, it's hidden. That's why. I'll put the saturation down. Is it oversaturated? Too much sun on the skin. No, I've got a tan. Right, let's put this. Is that better? Let's do that. Right. So, where was I? Yes. So, I took away ridiculous. I was on one island with the same guests. And I did that thing. I need a lot of stuff. But also, I always take stuff away to work on to gigs or when I'm away and never do it. And this time I went, no, I'm going to do it. And I did. I put a picture on my Facebook and Instagram, I think, of how much I took. I took so much magic. My luggage was so overweight. And I went through, I learned everything. Not only did I learn it, I performed most of it, not all of it. But this is stuff that I've reviewed and never really dug my teeth into, or that I've had to review and haven't reviewed yet, or stuff that I've always wanted to do and haven't done. I was so pleased. A couple of things when I got out there. The time delay meant that people couldn't email me or text me or message me for the first kind of half of the day, which was really helpful. So I couldn't really talk to people. So I used to go to this outdoor spa every day and practice. And it was really useful for me and really reignited my passion for certain parts of magic. It's never really gone. But the other interesting thing was that you couldn't do much with cards out there. Now you could, and I went through a lot of decks. But they get hot and it's very humid, so they just last like 10 minutes with the stuff I'm doing. And people sort of picking, not rudely, but taking the cards off me and showing me tricks and all that and dropping them on sand and things like that. And thanks to Mark Lavelle, who bought, the last few days I was out there, he was coming out, not to the same island, but he bought me 4 decks of these cards out. The Victoria Skye cards. I'm going to review everything more clearly, but these are absolutely beautiful, and he's a lifesaver. So Mark Lavelle, these have got double backers and stuff like that, and they've got a lovely illusion. This isn't a review. Look at this. It's got the illusion where you can kind of do that, which I think is great. And there's another ace of spades that you can do something else with. I haven't played with them properly, but These are absolutely beautiful. And this illusion, that illusion is incredible, isn't it? And when I got it, I sort of knew what it was, but I thought, no, I just got the thing out and measured it. I thought I've just had some hummus and some biscuits. and they're straight and parallel. I know we've all seen stuff like this, but you're looking at that and I just measured it. It's absolutely brilliant. So thanks to Mark Lavelle, who designed these with Phil Smith. These are absolutely stunning. And he got a few decks out, which gave me that sort of safety net of the last few days, because people were loving the card stuff out there. But I had to do a load of non-card stuff. So I put myself out of my comfort zone and performed all these things. Bar 1 or 2. A couple of them I just got tried out with people on a kind of stripped down level. But there's a lot here, and I look at that and I go, I'm really pleased that I spent all that time, like I said, a good 4 hours a day minimum practicing from the minute I got on the plane, actually to the airport. So I'm going to go through these. I have reviewed some of these. I can't go in depth, but all of these have worked as really strong effects, and I think it's not a coincidence really why I wanted to work on this stuff and then performed it and all went down well. These are tricks that have hung around in my head, and I've just known they're gonna play strongly, but some more than others, and that's why I think there was such a good hit rate. So I also want to tell you that the people I was performing to had seen a lot of magic. Where I was performing in the Maldives at Four Seasons is one of the most, I'm not saying this to be big-headed, but it's one of the most exclusive resorts out there. And so they've had a lot of magicians out there, but these people are at events all the time and have seen all sorts of things. It doesn't mean they're better, they're discerning. They're gonna tell you if they don't like something. They're not the sort of people that are gonna go, oh, it's great, even if it isn't. They're educated in that kind of, they've seen different types of performers. And what I mean by that is that sometimes I think any magic can just please someone, but they had things to compare it to. They weren't magicians, they didn't know the insides, but do you know what I mean? I think those people that performed a lot of events know when you have to kind of work for it, and rightly so. So the first was Axel Hecklau's Just a Cup. All the links are below. None of these are affiliate links. I'm getting nothing. Don't think I'm just finding stuff to make money. Just a Cup by Axel Hecklau. Now, I reviewed this and I've always loved it. And when I reviewed it, I showed it to a few people and performed it a bit. But then it kind of, I lost confidence with it because it wasn't smooth. So I took that out with me, worked on that, and that's the one I performed. I just caned that thing because I love cups and balls. I did perform the cups and balls out there in a few shows, but I wanted something to walk around with that would fit in my pocket, was examinable, and that is important for some tricks, and I think this one especially because it's so strong, they're going to want to see the stuff. And it took a while to work in and feel really confident with, and if you know the method, you'll know why. It feels really bold, but once you get comfortable with it, I think it's absolutely stunning. There's something about the look of it, the feel of it, the routining of it, all that kind of stuff. I absolutely loved it. And yes, you can do similar things with PK rings and things. I don't want to wear a PK ring. It's not my style. So I love Axel's routine, and it was lovely to work that in. I do have I love everything he does because it's brilliant and commercial, and he knows exactly what he's doing. So that works really well. It's not a cheap bit of kit. I'm a very privileged position, so don't think you got to buy all this stuff. I was in an unusual position where I just, I've been doing this 30 years, and I wanted to finally have a whole new set list, and I've doubled my repertoire pretty much. So, Just a Cup, Axel Hecklau. Hey, I look forward to saying hello to everybody in a minute. The Lincoln rings. Oh, Just a Cup is here, by the way. You basically get. I'm not gonna damn any of that stuff because I don't want to expose it if I mess it up. You will see the review and stuff like that. If you want me to show separate videos of this, write to me. But you just get a cup and a dice. It's a cups and ball routine. The final loads are the bag and the line ends up, but they can have a good look at this and look at it and make sure nothing happens. And it's just got some stunning stuff in it. So next was the Malero Rings. Again, this is, I'm going to mess this up if I try and form it live, so I'm just going to go off camera here. But the Malero, I wonder if I could get away with, it doesn't really matter if I expose it a little bit. There's going to be no non-magicians watching this, but let me do this. So this could be the wrong angle, but the Malero Rings basically allow you to show this, and you can do the usual routine. But I wanted to learn that, used a bit of that allows you to do that. And again, if you watch it back, you might see it, but that's in real life, it's a very different thing. I wanted to see whether it would work in life, especially with that extra bit you can show the rings. But also I wanted to get back into, I'd lost faith with ninja rings and things like that. You know, when you do it, you think, is it a bit cheesy, is it a bit tacky? It's absolutely brilliant. Have a look at my Instagram, the pinned post on there, at Steve Faulkner. And we shot that video and I was showing them loads of stuff. And as soon as they saw the rings, everybody went, we want that. But people love it. And, you know, I was talking to Sav about this. He likes the rings as well. Loads of people mention the rings. It's, for us, it can sometimes look, is it a bit tacky? But I just think it's such a beautiful visual thing. And Ernest Malero's routine is stunning. It had a couple of bits that I found really difficult. There's a beautiful link, which I'm not going to do now because I can't do it that well. I did do it because I was performing and looking up, and if I sort of missed a little bit, I'd chat and misdirect. But there's a beautiful link where you link one on, and then it looks like you link the second one on into a free link, and then you do that bit I just did. It's just lovely, and I'm so glad I spent time with it. I spent hours practicing that, and I love the routine. Love the original ninja ring routine. Love the big ring routine, which I learned from Axel on his silent rings. And then I've started putting the silent rings into that, so you've got this kind of if I can do it, hang on. And now I do miss the silent part of this, but this sort of thing, it's because I've been practicing this for the big one, just this kind of thing. You know, all the stuff I kind of learned with big rings, you can put into little rings, and I started kind of understanding the concepts a lot more. So that was that. Malero Rings, links below. Egg bag. Right, I've always loved the egg bag. I've performed it on stage, but there's part of me again that goes, is it a bit rubbish? And I just thought, why do I keep going back to it? I've got the Malini egg bag. I've got the one, is it Fabri? Oh, I can't remember. I've got, but don't worry, they're all good. All the egg bags are good. But it's good with the black on black, a bit of black art there. But if most of you know, you show the egg bag, they put their hand in, and well, we do that. But what I did, I wanted to give it something else. I'm sure loads of people have done this. I don't think it needs this, by the way, but I used digital force bag to force an egg. It's a forcing app on an iPhone, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I've never used it loads like a lot of people use it, for the reason why people are going to think it's an app. It went really well. I'd force the egg, and I'd have a couple of things I did was then did the egg bag, but then I thought I'd force the egg and have the wrong fruit in there and go, oh, all right, I've got to get out of trouble. And then I did that like once or twice as well. But the main bit is the appearance of the egg. So people put their hand in there, and they put the hand in, they turn it inside out. You say there's nothing in there. Now, because I've done that, I'm feeling like, I don't know what way it is, but anyway, you do that and they put the hand in and the egg comes out, right? That was awful, but I was on the wrong way around because I had to do the hand bit myself. You do that a few times, then you get a kid or whatever and they do the last bit, and then you can do final loads and things like that. But I didn't do any of that. I just did the egg bag from the digital force bag force, but I also did it without the force as well. Importantly though, this is Steve Meyer's perfect egg. I've got two of these, a brown one and a white one. They're pretty much, I wouldn't say totally unbreakable because you're going to stamp on them, you're probably going to break it, but I've travelled with this and they're pretty solid. It feels like a blown egg, which you use for egg bag as well. But I'll tell you what, when you're travelling and you're going somewhere like, you don't want to be blowing it, you don't want to be doing all that sort of stuff. So it was really good to have this, and they're really beautiful. Again, great that you can buy a white one and a brown one, because in some countries I've performed, I've taken a brown one, you just can't get them anywhere, and white ones look better. But also when I performed the normal egg bag with a normal coloured egg, a brown egg on stage, people said they couldn't see the egg very well from the distance. So I think a white one's a good one to go. But that's Steve Myers' perfect egg with the egg bag. I can't remember who's by, but the one I got in the Luis de Matos DVD was great as well. Hey, hi Rich, hope you're well. Happy New Year. So that was that. Any questions on this? If we don't get time from now, we'll come back on the next live show. Talking of Steve Myers, if you know the Max Malini cigar routine, thank you to Stuart who sent me. I've forgotten. I've got the Malini book, but I'd forgotten. So he sent me some photos out of the routine. Always wanted to do that. Love Chris Kenner's version. Love John Carney's version. Never did it. Got the cigars ages ago. Nearly didn't bring them. So I thought, I'm not going to do it, am I? When I got out there, there was a cigar expert out there that actually taught me how to have a cigar. I've always hated cigars, but I actually quite enjoyed it when I was with him. But I said, right, by the end of this week, I'm going to show you a trick with a cigar. So I went to work on this. And basically, I'm not going to do it, but you pull the cigar out of one of these little purses. It's not solid there. You go through this lovely sort of process of the cigars, coming back and coming back again. And then there's this lovely Chris Kenner bit where the cigar doesn't come back, the purse comes back, and I added this bit where I'm going to put it in my mouth, go, I've got a light, and it's the purse, and then the cigar vanishes, and all this stuff. I actually taught my version when it was in progress on my course, on onlinemagic.co, it's on there. And I'm going to do that in more detail. It was, again, I didn't do it that well. I showed a few people. I showed the cigar guy. I did perform it a couple of times. It was a bit all over the place, but people really like it. There's something funny about pulling a cigar out of a little purse. And I think also, let me just, it doesn't matter if you see what's going on, does it? But I think to go, it's like there's a table and those kids, and they were like really, quite wealthy people. And I said, I hope you don't mind if I smoke. And it's something so awful about smoking, and it was, to go into it like that and then go through the whole thing and then lose the cigar, I thought there's something lovely about it. And I've thought about it for years. So glad to come back to it. Right, there's so much here. Blimey, we're going to be here for a long time. Now, we're going to talk about apps in a bit. When it's hot and you don't want loads of props, you want loads in your pockets, and I had to perform without pockets sometimes. There were a couple of apps that I've been working on for a long time and never really tried properly. One of them I have been trying but haven't used it to its full potential. The links are below. The first is Toxic Plus by Ian Pigeon. Toxic Plus, loads of people use this. It's a stunning piece of work, but I've been using it for its basic thing. If you don't know, it goes down so well. Don't worry about being on a phone. People can follow along with it as well a lot of the time, but I've done it on Zoom shows. I do it all the time in close-up. I've done it on stage, and I've seen other performers just absolutely kill with it. It does so much. I'm not going to do it justice here, but I get people to type in, open the calculator, at most basic, type in 4-digit numbers. I got a presentation around this other thing. They type in another number. I'm not going to tell you everything. And press equals, and it shows the exact time and date that it is now at that moment, the final number. And they can follow along on their phone. Now, there's a version that I did that I've never done before, where they multiply the day they were born by the month they were born, by the year they were born, by their PIN number. I'm not seeing this. And then I can tell them things like, okay, you've been on this earth for this many days. Google this many days and they'll see their birthday. You can tell them what star sign you are. You can tell them so many things based on what they've typed in. It's just mind-blowing. So mind-blowing that it's easy to do too much with it. So I played a lot with that, learned that properly, and it's just stunning. iThump, people say it's iThump. You get iThump and Toxic. I haven't used iThump. That does loads more as well. But once you get into it, there's a bit of a learning curve. But when you got hours on a plane, I'm so glad I spent time with it. And Ian is amazing for taking people through the app as well. So I think it's only available on iPhone. So many of these things are. Don't shoot the messenger. But just if you're gonna get anything app-wise, get that. But, well, and things like Wikitest, which I do anyway, so I'm not going to talk about it. I didn't do Wikitest out there because the internet connection wasn't quite good. You do not need an internet connection for Toxic Plus. Architect of Predictions. Now, I'd been talking to Mustafa, who designed, who uses the printer and the glyphs stuff. And he used it, and I looked at it, and then got a copy of it. Started learning it and just thought, I don't get it. Because when I was learning it, I was on the plane, I couldn't get online. Yes, I look forward to seeing you at the session. I'm hosting some of the sessions. I just saw that, Caroline Raven. So I tried to learn, I couldn't get my head around it. And then it just clicked, and I went, oh, this is so good. The beauty of the architect, it's called TAP, people call it TAP, the Architect of Predictions. You don't think it's good, you think it ends up in my camera roll. It's basically, there are hundreds of different types of predictions you can do. They're incredible, they end up on your camera roll. You can date them back, etc. This isn't, not going to do it justice. I'm going to do a proper review. But at its most basic, you can say, name a card, and they go, all right. And then you go, look, funnily enough, last week I was at the Sistine Chapel, and here's a picture of the thing, and you show them a picture based on a painting, they're holding the playing card. That's its most basic, that's a built-in thing. But when you start customizing it, it's incredible. And I used it with the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is Pi Revelations, right? So when this came out, I went, oh, I don't want that. It's numbers, big book of numbers, that's boring. And then I saw David Penn perform it at Leeds Magic Jam a while ago, and I thought, that's all right, that is. And then I realised that a lot of these apps I use, Glyphs, Architecture Predictions, Toxic Plus, all that stuff, were starting to include Pi Revelation. I thought there must be something in this. So I got in touch with David and said, can you send us one? Because I wouldn't mind doing a review of it, because this year I want to do reviews of slightly older stuff. And he went, well, funnily enough, I'm in Sheffield, and he was at McDonald's down the road. So I drove over like a day before I left and got a copy of it. So Pi Revelations is a book of numbers, and basically it goes with a load of different apps, but at its most basic, you can find out, someone can say, which you don't perform it like this, but say any 4-digit number, and you can go, right, go to page 50, go down to line 12, and across 4, read it out, and they would see their number. That's fine. But what you can do with Architecture Predictions and iThump, so I did this thing where they would type the details in iThump. I would know the number that they typed in, that maybe an old PIN number or PIN number one digit change. They wouldn't know that I'd know that because they're typing it in. And then I say, funny enough, and we do the whole routine, and I say, okay, you got your PIN number in your head, or the number you typed in. I took a picture earlier on in reception, and I would show them a picture of me. I wonder if I could do it now. Holding a bit of paper saying, check out page number 60, a photograph of me holding a bit of paper, and it would, and they'd go through the book and find their PIN number. And I'll tell you what, people were just losing it. I had this bloke sat with me who was a mathematician, and he said, I'm a mathematician, I'm amazed at your ability. And I said, I'm going to be level with you now. So I'm not going to tell you how I do this, but I'm terrible with numbers. And he went, yeah, of course you are. And he was completely convinced it was mathematics. So now I kind of sold it in that way as well. It's really good. The only thing about this is I think it would be nice, and Mustafa has actually hand-drawn, he's got like an old-fashioned book and hand-drawn and copied all of this in pen, which took him like days and days. So I'd like a version of this that was rustic. So I think, David, if you're thinking of, all right, and if you get like a rustic book of this, even if it's printed inside, I think that'd be a corker. So it's absolutely, yeah, it just, every time I did it, and then I did it in different ways, and it did so well. So it's really good, well worth getting, and nobody questioned it. Nobody questioned, oh, it's a book, it's a magic book. Yeah, corker. Right, next one's interesting. Angelo Carboni, that is April, it's not Carboni, Carboni, sent me Magic SMS. And when I got this, with all the amazing things that apps are doing, this is the one I thought, it seems a bit not bad. And this is because I didn't know, right? There's things a bit basic. This, someone names a card and any colour, And you say, I'm going to text my friend. You text my friend, and then he texts back saying, oh, the colour is and the colour is this, at its most basic level. But as with so many things, including things like the egg bag and things like that, it does a basic thing, but it's the subtlety and the little bits in it that make it really convincing. I performed this a few times, and I was really like, is this going to go down well? And people loved it. It's totally stealthy. Nobody has a clue how you're doing it, and there's different ways of doing it and different things you can do with it. But you can customize the messages, and it's the way you say kind of. You know, I had someone that would text me back 45 minutes saying, "Are you having a good time in the Maldives? Oh, I don't want to get this wrong this time. So if it goes right," and nobody said, "Is it for people?" For like, "Oh, who's this bloke have you got in England?" And I was saying, "Yeah, he might not be happy, but you've agreed to do it," and it's really strong. People are completely blown away by it. And that's Magic SMS. I couldn't find it by searching it on the App Store, but that one is available on Android as well. And have a look at the link below if you want that. I think it's really good, and I will use it. It's really puzzles people, but important, it's magical. People couldn't get their head around it. So Magic SMS, Angelo Carboni, way more than meets the eye with that one. Peaksmith with Andras Barthazi's Peaksmith, that he made along with Benker Smith and the spotted dice with the app. I've had for a while. I've done it in different ways. I've also used the mental die, which I use a lot with thumpers and things like that. I use this with a thing called Peak Box, which is a box where you can use the Peaksmith. Again, search my reviews of this if you don't know what I'm talking about. But basically, they roll the dice. You can see exactly what they've rolled. There's 4 different colours. And I now have a presentation where I build up to the final reveal. But I remember the boss of the whole island saying, "Show me something really quickly." And he saw the dice on the table. I didn't have time to do the whole presentation. And I went, "Oh, yeah, all right, roll them." Anyway, I just went, I don't know, blue 3. Well, I just did it, no presentation. And he said, "That's the best thing I've ever seen." So it just goes to show, shocking presentation, but I didn't have time. Stuff was already out. He was in a rush and just completely floored him to the point where he then got the waiter over and said, "Show him." And it was just, so it's, again, no presentation, but it's a stunning bit of kit. Not, it's expensive. A lot of this stuff isn't as expensive. And I think, yes, it's great, but you can get just as big results with things like a centre tear. I was sitting with someone that I performed I was sitting with them for like 2 hours. They offered me a drink and stuff, and then they said, "Do you do any of that mind reading stuff?" Because I hadn't done the app stuff for them, and I did a centre tear for them, and they said, "That's the best thing that you've done all night." And I've done all of this stuff and the card stuff, and so, you know, that's a bit of paper. That's not a full dice and a big experience. So again, it depends what you're into. I know this is long. Are you still here? Is anybody still here? This is what I'm quite pleased with myself. I then had this. Oh, Steve, go on about it. Sorry, we're having a live session in half an hour on the card course. I might be late. Endless Cup by TCC. This is the like the Lota bowl. So you basically show it empty, and then it's got water in it at its most basic. But it's a beautiful cup. Handy. It looked like the cups that were around. It's super dry inside, and as they advertised with this cup, they were doing Ray Levan's free breadcrumb routine, which I saw him perform in Spain, and I couldn't understand where he was saying I was gutted because I knew it was beautiful. And I downloaded it from Mayor You Did. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. I've only ever read it, but there's a £10 download, links below, of the 3 breadcrumbs trick. He does loads of phases with it, but there's a lot more subtlety in that than you think, and it's such a beautiful trick. So I learned that, performed that. Very simple, like 2 in the hand, 1 in the pocket thing, but you're showing your hands empty. You'll put in the breadcrumbs, or you can do fold up bits of paper and you tip it out and there's 3, and they see them go away and there's 3, and then they can do it. Okay, you put 2 in it and there's 3. The final reveal with this is you then pour the water out, which is so lovely because you've been using other bits of paper, totally dry, they're seeing it, and you look in there, there's nothing you can see. It's so beautifully made. TCC Endless Cup, which again, I'm so glad I did. I will be reviewing, like I keep saying, this stuff separately. I'm so pleased I did this as well. I was so under pressure. I'd never done John Allen's Destination box. I love mystery blocks by Prop Dog, Stephen McCraw, I think, which is a destination box. But that's one that has a gimmick in it that shows it's like there's a card in there. It's so clever. I love it. I perform it all the time. It's beautiful. But there's a it has a different feel to it, and I've always wanted this. I've had it on my shelf for a long time. John is re-releasing this properly soon, but there is a link to get it, I believe. And this, I had to do a show. I'd done the cups and balls. I'd done all my stuff. I needed to do something which was a showpiece. So you introduce this, and you do a couple of moves with cards, but again, I couldn't do many. And then you undo it. You show them what's in there. You tip it out into your hand. You say, what one do you want? You basically do a little joke. And then you open the tin, and their folded signed card is in the tin. It's actually in there. It's not like a gimmick tin in that way. And I've done a lot of Card to Impossible locations. There's something about this thing that people, it's the feel of it, it's the look of it, it's elegant, and it's completely fooling, and they absolutely loved it. I also used John's Perfect Score, which I haven't got a link, but just Google it, where you'll go to a shop, and that's the way to score cards. So if you want a perfect Mercury fold, now, because it was very sweaty and it was hot, I used that, and it worked brilliantly. So if you've got a Mercury card fold, but you want to hit it every time perfectly, use the Perfect Score. I had a load of scored cards separately. I just bought them into play when I wanted one, forced it, and then did a couple of things, put it under the box or under a glass, and then it was in the box. Absolute lovely thing that John's put out. He had a version of it ages ago, which you had to Mercury card fold it, doing the Tommy Wonder 8-time fold, but this uses a 4. He's done it so you can just use a 4 fold with it. We are nearly there. Super Lemon by Alex Eng. I think that's how you pronounce it. I apologise if not. This has just come out from Henry Harrius. Very lucky, sent one. Very simple routine. Again, I'm not going to demo it. I know I can't really, because it's something that has to be performed. It doesn't work on camera really like this. It's so messy here. On its simple thing, you show a lemon. You start by forcing or them choosing a fruit. You show a lemon, which I haven't chosen. Let's say they've chosen apples, which they have. You talk about how lemons are amazing because you can. It's one of those fruits that when you start talking about it, you can almost start salivating. You can influence someone just by talking about something. You've got a knife and this lemon. It can be a normal lemon. You do get a fake lemon, but you can do it with a normal one. And you say, look, imagine me cutting it up with this knife. You feeling that sort of tartness, that bitterness. And you say, I have influenced you because you were convinced that this was a knife. And you hold it up and it's a fork, which is great. And then you go and you convince this was a lemon. They hold up and it's just a screwed up piece of yellow paper. And it's this really lovely moment where you're saying, I've convinced you that you're, and then you unfold the paper and it says apple, which is the fruit that has been forced. Now you get many ways of forcing it. You get cards, you can use pre-shot, all that, but I again use digital force bag. It's absolutely perfect for it. Just on digital, and they're very easy, by the way. It takes it's a bit of boldness because there's misdirection, but very easy. And digital force bag, I always had that thing of going, you're using your notes app to force a thing, and people are going to think, the thing with it, once it's out of play, you bring it into a physical routine, or a routine on your phone, or something like that, and I'm really reconsidering. I used to be really anti-apps, but if you think about it, people aren't walking around with bits of paper to write stuff down on. They're walking around with iPads and phones to write stuff down on. So it's the most natural thing in the world. And again, if you don't want to carry loads of stuff, it's all happening on your phone. And then you use that force to bring it off your phone. People have used it on Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent. Nobody, it's great. So I'll go to questions in a minute. So that's a lovely routine. I haven't worked that in properly, but I'd happily do that on stage and emceeing and stuff like that. I think it's really nice. There's loads of nice presentation you can do of it. You get the gimmick fork as well with that, and the cards if you want to use the forcing cards. Okay, nearly there. Card under glass. I'm just going to mention that because I've been doing that a lot. Doc Easton Card under glass, which is a DVD I learned that from. But I also been looking at James Brown's box clever routine, which is great. I've been mixing those two up. The card goes under the glass, under the box. Deck goes under the box. I think that's a stunning routine, and it isn't a chosen card. Well, it is, but it's all about the stuff that happens here. rather than it happening in the deck all the time. And it feels different than an ambitious card routine, even though it has similarities. And I think, you know, if you want a card routine that isn't like your other stuff, Card Under Glass just plays so big. And now I've got the confidence with that of where they're in, I feel it's a lovely thing. And yeah, and I started improvising with it as well. So the links are to Doc Easton's DVD below. That's great. One more thing really. The main thing I worked on, because you will know if you watch this, I'm a massive Danny Goldsmith fan. And I was quite anxious when I got on the flight on the way over there because my flight was cancelled. I was exhausted. I'd driven down from Sheffield at like 5, 6. I was absolutely knackered. Finally got on the flight and I was like tense, and I started watching Silversmith, one of Danny's early downloads that he now sells on his site, and started learning the DG Vanish. And it's just, I won't show you, I'll get some footage because I'm bound to nose it up. But I haven't got it nailed anyway, but I'm getting closer. It's DG Retention, sorry. And I just saw that, I thought, I've got to learn that. And now it's because I do a similar thing, but I don't do his way of doing it, which I think is loads better. You go watch his DG Retention. He also teaches it on optical, I think. But I'm unpicking a habit of a lifetime, which is the opposite, which is covering the coin when you're kind of with your fingers rather than pulling the coin back. And Project Z, I think it was called, that I reviewed ages ago, has a similar thing with it. I've got hours of fun out of this. I did perform it when I was doing it, and people were just like, I'm sure I saw the coin going into that. So do check out Danny's stuff. Again, there's no affiliation. I just love his stuff, and I think it's well worth it. There is a routine on Silversmith with a ring, which I think is one of the most commercial coin routines I've seen in so long. It's all pulling the coin out of the ring, putting it back in, and I started working on that on the way back, and it's a stunner. And once you've got the Vanish, it's not that difficult. It's very intuitive. Right, well done. Of course he's still there, good. And just a couple of other things. Extraordinary, which is a coin routine, which I tried to do quite a lot. I did it a few times when it was a bit cooler, but my hands were too sweaty. But it's a classic routine, and that went down really well. And I worked on liquid metal a lot more, and that was getting stunning responses as well. But especially, you know, if you learn liquid metal and fork bending, and speaking of which, I started reading Ben Harris's. I got a little sneaky preview of his book that's coming out in January. A bit of it, and it's a stunner. It's absolutely stunner. Bend It Like Geller. It's January now, isn't it? So it was going to come out. I hope it does come out this month. But that is a stunning book. And when you learn liquid metal, any of that stuff, it's easy to not do the bit where you prepare the forks so it actually snaps and bends, and that gets such an amazing reaction. So I pre-prepared a lot of forks and did the whole liquid metal routine with some other bends that I'd learned, and it just there's a mystique to it that people love. So all the links to that are down below. They're the ones I've had good responses. That didn't really do anything else that didn't really work. I'm glad it was useful. Let's just go through here. By the way, if you go into a session, I'm now hosting. Unless they change their mind, but I don't think they will. Not hosting the whole thing, but I'm doing some hosting on stage. So I'll see you there. Hi Tom, hi Stuart. Happy New Year, everybody. Rias. Happy New Year, Garage Number. Good to see you all here. Tom, Terry, good afternoon, South Carolina. Did you work on the tan or is it makeup? Yeah, no, it's either the bad colour on the thing or... I know I stayed out of the sun, you know. I stayed properly out of it, and I put loads of stuff on. I'm not a sun worshipper, you know. I don't really sit on beaches. I sit in shade, but you get a bit of it, don't you? Proper impressed with your plane arrival on the venue. Yeah, it was. It was good one at the seaplane. Hi, David. Can you start using stuff under a $5? Well, Centre Tear. Let's have a look. What's the one? You see, a lot of it. Once you've bought it, you've got it, haven't you? Like the rings and egg bag. You know, you can pick up really inexpensive egg bags. Rennie Levan's free breadcrumbs. It's a cup and free bread. Literally, you use free bread things and push them together. So, and that's a 10 of that download, I think. It's great. So, Card Under Glass again. Yeah, the DVD's not the best place you can learn that. And yeah, so some of it's expensive, but a lot of it isn't. I know you're not complaining. I know you're not saying that. It's a joke, but But I think all of it, if you're going to perform with it, is well worth it. You know, if you're going to get that sort of time. Steve's looking well after his venture by John. Thanks very much. I'm still a bit all over the place. Hey Martin, how are you? Good to see you. It looked like hard work. It was lovely. I had the days off, didn't I? So, yeah, it was Magic Man Pete. It was lovely. Thanks. Steve Myers has a disclaimer on his site. He only delivers in the US and the UK. Yeah, I don't. So, I mean, you could get in touch with him and ask him. I suppose there must be a reason for that. If you have any issues, I've got people to buy stuff for me and send it over. It costs a bit more, but you know, don't forget there's a lot of conventions happening, so you might be able to bring, if you've got a convention, ask someone to bring someone over to you. But I've had similar issues when the postage has been so high that I've had to kind of do it other ways. Began Brothers, good to see you. Hello, Guillaume. I'm good, thanks. You doing a giveaway also? No, I'm not doing a giveaway today. Caroline Raven, hope you're good. Looking forward to seeing you at the session as well. Team Bonkers was massively disappointed with David Pye. I can only explain why to people who own it. It's inexcusable. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know, because I really like it. So, but you know, each to their own. I'm not saying that, you know, my opinion isn't. All I can do is report back on the responses I was getting. It does sound that, you know, it works if you want to start mixing other apps with it. It's better that way, but I still think the original way the normal way of performing it, just with what he uses, is still very, very strong. Danny's Jumbo Coin stuff amazing too. Yeah, Danny's just great, isn't he? Chris Campos, that's Team Bonkers Conkers. Chris Campos, Superset Routines, thank you. Glad it was useful, David. Julian, hi. Steve, been away for a while. Long story. How can spectators get to the Super Lemon knife fork prop? How close can they get to it? Pretty close. I mean, it's not. You can do it close up, standing at a table. No problem doing that at all. I wouldn't do it to a tiny group if there's two of you. It's a kind of parlour thing, but I always do that stuff to table. You know, it's like I do the cups and balls at a table. If you're standing, mate, you've got a group of people and you've got to play it a bit bigger. I think it's good for that kind of things. And Happy New Year, Morgan and Team Bonkers Conkers too. Right, 44 minutes. Am I on my own? Oh, we're still here. Good. So, if you want more of this stuff, remember, if anything you want me to talk about on these live sessions, this year I'm doing less reviews. I'm still going to do reviews, but I'm not reviewing anything that I'm not into or isn't going to go towards my own learning and development. I'm not going if I get something I don't like it in this book, I'm not going to spend time learning it, because I want to be able to help people sort of navigate through all the chaff that's out there, but also just share what I'm learning as well, and help with your learning. So if there's anything at all that's magic related that you want me to talk about on here and do one of these live sessions on, or recorded session, do email me, steve@onlinemagic.co, or you can comment under here. And talking about under here, when you look at the information or the links, there are a couple of free courses. I don't spam you loads, you'll get a couple of emails, but they're the free Introduction to Card Magic course, free Great Beginner's Tricks if you've not done much card magic, with performance tips, and a Spread Cull course if you're one of the best movers in the world, which I just did so much out there, which came the cards, but that's all right, not the move, the heat. As I've said, I'm really happy with the courses. They're not these rubbish giveaways. I think they're good things, so have a look at them and sign up for them. Or, of course, sign up for onlinemagic.co. I will try and get permission from the creators, which happens quite often, to actually teach these routines on the course as well. So that'd be good, wouldn't it? So let's have a look if there's anything else. I'm going to go see some of you at the... glad I caught this very useful. Good, thank you, Robert. Top 10 best effects of 2022. Oh, I don't know, Gary. I'm going to show many that I haven't looked at. So that's why I kind of did this, really, because I don't know. That's a hard one, isn't it? There wasn't loads that really grabbed me, because it's all these slightly older stuff. So, yes, look like a mess here. Look, what a pickle. Anyway, I'm going to go and check out onlinemagic.co. See some of you in 15 minutes on the course, where we're going to set some New Year's goals. And thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for your support. And follow me on Instagram if you want. Do that as well. It's all right, isn't it? And see some of you at the session. Take care, everyone. See you later. Bye.